Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Meet the FTP team, BOF. I'd like to introduce Luke. They are FTP master for lots of years. I remember them vividly when we were both way younger. I had not that gray hair when he accepted my first package. Thanks to all your work for doing so. You're welcome to start.
Thank you. Hi, this is the FTP team talk. There's only one of us here, but it's more than usually at DebConf, so take what we can get. A portion of these slides are adapted from Andreas's Chatting with FTP Masters talk last year. So some of the copies are the same. What we're going to go over basically is I'd say existing broken communication model that needs to be modified in some way. Then I'm going to just show you folks what it looks like to do a review of a package in new, followed by open discussion. Yeah. So the FTP team is 5 FTP masters, 5 FTP assistants, and 2 trainees. And the masters are generally always pretty hosed and pretty busy. And so we definitely could do a lot of work to improve our own internal processes. Like, we don't have like a formal decision-making process, which means that often when there's like long spelling thread in Debian Devel, we also, at least I personally, I don't want to wade into this when I'm not sure how the rest of the team feels about it. And this is from Andre's slides. Debian is not known for having like the bleeding edge of software, and this has been noticed in the press. And I guess it raises the question of is our existing process satisfying the social contract section 4, which is our priorities of our users and free software, and that's important because the ordering of that is our users and free software, not free software and our users. So a lot of the communication with FTP master is might feel like it's going into a black hole, because sometimes it kind of is. As I was saying before, the team sort of shies away from a lot of the heated discussions that have happened around new, for example, in recent years. But going back a bit, so essentially, picking on a IRC usually always will get our attention about your package. Replying to the email we send you about your package being new often will work. Replying to rejection emails should always get a response quickly, because at least I have mail filters that if you email FTP master and it includes my name, it'll go to my inbox. But otherwise, it goes into a folder that I never read. And we sort of, as a team, we don't use that alias for internal discussions because we don't expect ourselves to be able to respond to it. So we definitely need to come up with a different method. This is further complicated. So this sort of plays into an issue where processing the new key requires way too much state tracking. That has to be done by the FTP team member. Without any sort of database or anything else to back them up. So once our package is rejected, we immediately delete that from FTP master. And so the only thing that we have to go on when a package is re-uploaded is our own email inbox. So every time I look at a package in new, the first thing I do is search my email to see if I can find some context about it. And when it comes to reviews, we don't have any record of when did this last go through new, so we can't, for example, just review a deb diff and say, oh yeah, well this package was only updated a couple of months ago and it didn't have that much churn.
It's okay to interrupt you?
Yeah, please.
question, would it help you, because if I have a new package rejected, I do something and I respond to the mail, the rejection mail, would it help you if I would attach adaptive?
Yeah, I think that could be helpful, yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Although, like, often when we're reviewing packages and we get enough things to warrant a reject, depending on how the FTP team members are feeling at the moment, often our reject emails are not exhaustive about what all the problems are, because we'll say we found enough copyright problems and we stop processing here. And so for those, it's sort of like we can restart where we left off, but it's not quite like, we gave you a checklist of what you had to fix, and we can find it all in the DebDiff. Yeah, ideally we would be able to just retain the artifacts, but we currently believe we cannot do that for legal reasons, because if we determine something can't be in the archive, then we've determined that it's not really distributed or whatever. We have to delete it. That could possibly change. Like, there are lots of things that are not acceptable for the archive, but perfectly legal for us to retain copies of. Like almost all rejected packages, we could just keep them around. It's only in the case of things that are decidedly non-free and non-redistributable that we would need to delete. Anyway, so I spent a lot of time doing new many years ago. I haven't done a lot of it recently. So when preparing for this talk, I had to basically fish out a package that wasn't too big, was DFSG-ish, so that I didn't, bore you with writing a lengthy reject email. Didn't have, I would say, baggage. There's a couple packages that have been in the queue for months, and when I see that, I'm like, there must be something wrong with this package. Otherwise someone would have processed it, right? And so for expediency, I ran the queue report and only started it at the, one second. We have a queue report that's very similar to the new dashboard, and shows we have 106 new source packages. And I started my search for a package that I could use as an example around here-ish. I'm sure that some of these packages haven't been touched because we don't know. I'm guessing haven't been touched because you don't know how to respond to it. But yeah, in any case, now off to the demo. So, pardon, sorry. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we're going to look at a package called Veristat, which is going to be a pretty straightforward one. Second. Sorry. One moment. Okay. So basically, whenever we process a packet, when DAC process new, DAC opens in a separate tbook session this is Midnight Commander. It's like an archaic file manager, and this is where we do the actual review. We'll we can generate a report on the package, which looks at both the source and binary. This is basically where we're like, okay, well, is this a reasonable changelog? Changelogs that don't start at 1, like all packages up to the deb range should start at 1, but a package violating that rule is not on its own ground for rejection. We do linting check, although because FTP master is running stable, it doesn't have the latest version of linting, which means that a lot of the checks are a bit outdated. So okay, Veristat, it's a tool to do something with BPF. Let's take a look at the source. So it's really this is unfortunately a small project. Let's go and find its copyright. And that's a pretty straightforward copyright. Meta platforms, GPL 2.0 only, BSD Q2 clause. Okay, cool. Now let's look at, is this readable? Okay. Let's see. So basically, when we're reviewing a package new, we go through and page through every single file in the package. Frequently, we'll run we have some shortcuts that'll help us find issues, but at the end of the day, we do actually read through every single file. And so in this case, the license here is pretty clear. GPL 2.0 only or BSD2 clause. Still, we're going to go and make sure that, at least we'll read the first couple of lines of each file and make sure that there's not we took this from someone else and repurpose it as our own. So it looks like this package is fine. So awesome, cool. Yeah, SPDX license identifier matches, and this cool. That's a accept. But let's just double check. Sure. Cool. So yep, add overrides. The package is now pending accept. To look at a package that's a bit more complex. We can look at blanket, which is a GTK package. Once again. This is a bit larger of a package because it's a GTK program that plays relaxing sounds. So it has a whole bunch of different files that have different copyright information. So when you go through here, we'll make sure that the binaries that are being introduced are reasonable. We'll make sure we're not doing something that violates FHS when we're looking through the binary package, and then we'll look at the copyright. I've already gone through, and so basically there's 20 different sound files, and I already in my before this talk went through and verified that all of the license statements here matched what was verifiable on the web, with one exception, where this specific file train.og, the copyright, the name that they used in the the name that the maintainer wrote down here is less specific than it should be, and so essentially, I'm preparing basically to prod the maintainer and just give them a note. Let's see. So basically, the actions that we can take on a package in new is to either to accept, to reject, or to prod, or to leave an internal note. In this case, I'm prodding the maintainer. It just sends them an email. I'm going to hold that, though, while I look through the rest of the package, if I can avoid pressing the wrong button. Let's see. 1 second. Check again. And when you can once you like you can go through this pretty quickly, and you you're essentially pattern matching and making sure you don't find like a random like I said, people love to embed code from other projects with incompatible licenses. So for example, Chris, did they attribute that? Yes, they did. Awesome, great. But everything else is pretty clearly attributed to the single author of the project. Generally, if there are like PNG files in a package, we'll usually complain that it's not the preferred form of modification. But in this case, they're screenshots, so I don't really care about that. Let's see. Anything else? So you can see how this gets very tedious for large packages. We do still do this process, even if it's like a new upload of KDE or something like that. It's just there's take a lot of time and a lot of focus. Anywho. If there were other reasons to reject this package, I would note that the changelog should be empty. Definitely shouldn't be targeting Jammy. Oh, this is in the upstream package, so I actually don't care about this. Never mind. I'm going to assume that all of this is right. That's fine. Okay. Just making a note that fi minus two. That's it. So I'm just going to send that as an additional prod to the maintainer. But I'm generally like things like failing to attribute translations wouldn't be a reason on its own to reject a package if it's otherwise pretty sound. So once again, I'm going to send another prod mail to the maintainer. So in your next upload, please credit the translators of all the various languages where there was a copyright statement for another translator. Yeah, and so we have very limited various limited database for tracking issues. I could store a prod as a note, which is essentially a note is something that exists on a package. I'll just actually do that just to demonstrate. Basically, once there's a note on the package, it'll no longer show up in the queue. It'll be sent to the bottom of the queue, and there's no way to accept the package until you remove that note. Once you remove the note, it's deleted from the file system, and we lose the historical record. So there's no so basically, it's like once I get a reply to this email, and assuming I was not accepting this package, as soon as I get a reply to this email or a new upload address my concerns, I had to go in, remove the note, and accept the package. Storing this in a proper database or a bug tracking system would definitely be a lot better, but it's a simple matter of programming that we haven't really even thought about the design for. Anyway, yes?
Is someone working on a better tooling for this?
Yeah, not right now.
Would you think it would be good that someone is working on a better tooling?
Yeah, I think that would be appreciated.
Okay.
So yeah, that is what all I had prepared. And now I want to pass the mic around and feel free to throw tomatoes.
Thanks for the presentation, for all the work that you're doing. Could you talk a little bit about any changes to this process? When was the last time any of these processes were changed, and in what ways?
I think the only change that's happened since I was an FTP trainee in 2010 was policy loosened slightly about what needs to be in debugging copyright, and basically said, for example, if the copyright information is omitted from debugging copyright, but is otherwise stored in the plain text file of, say, up the Python program you're packaging, that isn't a violation of policy. It's only if that copyright information is stripped and not available at all in the binary package, in which case it's a policy violation. That's the only change that's happened to this process since I started. Other than that, it's been the same.
Are there internal discussions about making any changes to the process? I mean, in the last 14 years, lots of changes have happened in the world in collaborative development.
Yep. No.
Well, I think what we discussed yesterday with Jean, Utkarsh, and Luke is an option that we split the task in the FTP master team, because one is DAC maintenance, which is doing all the processing, the releases, and the new processing. These are de facto different people which are doing this, and so the DAC maintenance is just done by a single person. In my opinion, as DPL, this is a single point of failure we should not have, so we should put some more person power into this. I think at least 2 people should concentrate on this task, and other people should concentrate on the new processing. And we should probably also try to find more people doing the new processing on one thing. And the other thing is, well, if the tooling would be more hands-on, more advanced, we could probably find more volunteers to do this job. This is my opinion.
The emphasis should be on finding the people, volunteers, to do the doc processing and maintenance of doc, not the processing, but maintaining the doc and working on that code and understanding all those things. I think that is our primary concern right now.
What skills are needed to maintain DAC?
Deep knowledge of Postgres. For example, the sources file in the archive is the direct output of a 200-line Postgres query. That just we run that query, pipe it to a file, and that's how we generate package sources.
Yeah, when it comes to doing changes in DAC, when you first look at it, it looks like it's very complicated. But Niels wrote a wrapper to have some kind of a test environment. And I worked on the conversion for Duck from Python 2 to Python 3. And I didn't have deep knowledge of anything in Duck. And I didn't even have deep knowledge of Python or the difference between Python or Python 3. And if you just start working on it, and you can get your local test environment to upload a binary or a source package, then you can try to do incremental changes. And I haven't looked at the new processing in Duck, but somebody could set it up locally and see what happens, and then try to find a way to do that in a more convenient way, store the information. And I don't think you need to have that much knowledge. The wrapper that Niels wrote, it sets up Postgres. You don't need to know anything about that. So I think it looks very daunting, but if you try to set it up, there's some script. It's been a while. I should look it up to run this. And once you've got that running, you can see what it's doing and build from there. So it's not as bad as it looks at first.
Volunteer to do this. No, don't need to answer this. Yeah, but Niels Tückier is the developer maintainer. Niels Tückier, yeah.
Yeah, but that was years ago. But if there's somebody who wants to know how to do that, I'd be happy. I would have to look into it because it's been years since I looked at it. But I can look at it again and show people how you can get to the point where you can have your own small instance and upload a package and see what happens, and try to change things and see what happens then. I would be happy to do that.
Well, it's interesting to say that you can do it at your own, but without breaking something. This is quite important. So, yeah, maybe after this, someone raises, or not only someone, one or two people raise their hand and say, "Oh, that's cool. I like this job," because we really need these people.
And if you submit patches to Duck with a clear explanation what you change and why, either you get comments or they get accepted. So it's also, in my experience, not very hard to get it in. But of course you need to explain what you're doing and why. If you say, well, just disable new processing and accept everything, I don't think your patch is going to be accepted. But if it improves something...
And it's maintained in Salsa, right? Or
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I think what's missing, in addition to manpower or engineering hours, is also like just a vision of what DAC should become, or like because a lot of the issues with DAC from our side are like we don't have a database to track packages that aren't in the archive. We have a bunch of ways to track like small amounts of information about packages while they're pending acceptance. But the instant that a package is accepted or rejected, all that goes away. And so, like figuring out like what the new version of this should be, we need to figure out how we get alignment on what that vision is.
Yeah. We, yesterday, as I said, we considered that the tasks are split, and because we also think that FTP master is a name which doesn't really fit what is doing anymore. So FTP is something most people, the young people don't know or use anymore, right? And so we are not good at choosing names, but we had the idea to call the DAC maintenance archive team and the DFSG team or new processing team for those who are doing the actual new processing. What do you think about this? Just to have some opinions about it. Could you say to the mic?
I say, well, this sounds like agreement. I agree with you, this idea to make it split more into details, because when you concentrate on specific issues, problems, or whatever we have. So it is quite, by the way, Luke, thanks for the demonstration to see how your process looks like. It was always some kind of mystery to me. I know that something happened, but I can remember some discussions like from you, Andreas, started on yearly more or less on develop about how we can improve this process, because we are really, really important person. So again, I agree with the idea we should think about if some parts can be split more off so we can address the issues more and better.
Okay. I think also we should confirm that the quality assurance that the new processing team is providing is something that the project wants, is something that's valuable. To give you just an idea of like how we think about it, this is a man page that's publicly, that is actually also on Celsius. There's nothing secret here. But you have the last line of defense. What stands between Debian and hordes of lawyers keen to sue Debian for all we're worth, etc. It's easier to not process a package and rather than to let something bad into the archive. And maybe that's the standard we want to maintain. Maybe that's overly critical. I think that's also up for discussion.
So I think I agree. I understand what you're saying about the lack of shared vision and how that would be good. And I think that's kind of a necessary part. Like I like the idea of splitting DAC with. It's not my decision, but it sounds like a sensible idea to me. But I think like we're talking about finding volunteers for DAC. If you're asking for volunteers to port from Python 2 to Python 3, that's not a very attractive. Well, that's already happened, but that's not a very attractive way of attracting volunteers. And if you were, say, make a policy decision that says we want some name changes not to go through new, and we want someone to implement that in DAC, I think you would have people line up for this. Like that would be a very different way to attract contributors. If it's, we'll have this kind of maintenance work that no one wants to do, please help, that's kind of harder to use as a pitch for volunteers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, historically, there has been, or it has been said that there has been value in looking at surname bumps, but mostly just because of like egregious errors by the developer and accidentally uploading an empty package or something like that, which we should we should cover those cases by linting auto rejects, not by I'm not sure necessarily by manual review.
About the surname bumps, it has, in my opinion, two sides. One side is checking if the surname bump is sensible, it's not breaking something, and I'm very happy about this second pair of eyeballs looking at it, but I'm not happy if there is some kind of another new processing happening, which is, I had several examples where the package in U was way better than the existing package in Debian, and it got rejected anyway because of, So this is not nice for everybody. It actually creates also more work on the FTP master side. So we could find some agreement that what should happen and what not. And maybe I need to sit down and write it up and we talk again. I'm really happy that we started talking now. This is really cool. And by the way, thanks for this, actually. Another thing, what you said, you are the last line of defense. Well, yes, but what would happen if you make a mistake? Okay, this can happen to everybody, and the packet goes to Debian, and someone says, "Oh, there's a copyright violation." So we could remove this package quickly, and I'm not sure if someone would send some lawyers behind us, but finally we would defend you as FTP master responsible for this, also with lawyers. So what is the really worst case, what could happen if something might slip through?
Right. There's the legal risk, and then there's the poor packaging quality risk, and I'm not quite sure. mean, we try to focus on both equally. Like we don't want to introduce a package that contains like a binary name that's too generic, for example, and that's just like a matter of taste. Just because like it's more annoying to change that later. When it comes to copyright, we received guidance a while ago that, for example, item 2 here is never take any files off of FTP master, and the reason for that is advice we received at a certain point that said that like if it's on FTP master and we're reviewing it there, then there's no legal liability. If it turns out that the package has copyright violation. But if we were to download it to our local machines, that's distribution. And that's why we have to do all this review and set a midnight commander session SSHing into a server at Brown or whatever it is. And I think we can absolutely refresh that legal advice.
Well, I think this was past legal advice from probably 20 or even more years ago. And we do need some risk assessment in this case. So what could really happen if you download this file to your machine and, well, would there be somebody saying you should not do this? Or would there come the police knocking on your door and bring you to jail? What is I mean, this is a really wide span of things that could happen. And I think the first thing is someone will tell you, you should not do this and please don't do it again also. In this level of you should not do it. Maybe I'm wrong, but should we ask some lawyer about this again?
I have a request from the IRC. If people speaking could introduce themselves again, if they're comfortable with that. The main speaker, Luke Faraone, is up there. They are, I believe, the only FTP master in the room.
Yep.
And then we have our project leader. If you want to reintroduce yourself. Awesome.
And there's also Utkarsh, who is trainee. Yeah. And Sean Witten is at DebConf, but not in this room.
Thank you.
Some more questions? Yeah. Well, my question about this is we had, I can give one other more detailed example. For instance, I was working on the package NetPPM with a very, very, very outdated copyright file, which had which I rewrote to make it way better, updated to the latest version, needed to bump the zone name version, and it took 3 rounds of rejects because in this very huge file tree there are some 3 or 4 copyright statements missing, where I say, okay, we have a bad package inside Debian, it is bad. The one that gets rejected is way, way more better. It's not perfect, I know, but in my opinion, it would be really nice if DAC would provide an option. There is room for improvement, file a bug report, release critical, so this package, which has problems, will not be released in case the maintainer is doing something, but at least other packages that are depending from it can go and run, and so this would be my biggest wish to have this feature accept plus bug support. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, if there was a way in DAC to say, please, once this package exists in the BTS, file a bug report against it, that would definitely be useful. Right now, our actions are, we can accept the package, we can prod a maintainer with an email that goes directly to them, or we can redirect. But like, there's nothing that ever verifies that the maintainer addresses the issues in those prods. So turning those into bug reports would definitely be nice.
In the past, sometimes it happened that that was done for a package that's already there. When there's an update for a new binary package, that there's an RC bug filed about something that's wrong, mainly because if the version that's already there also has the issue, then rejecting the new package doesn't really fix it. The way you describe it now, I assume that was then a manual process by the person doing it in a separate window, filing the RC bug,
Yep.
and then accepting it. So that could be something, if you can say, accept with RC bug, and just type the explanation instead of manually filing a bug. That could be an improvement in the workflow to make this easier. And maybe if it's tracked somehow, and you can see, you obviously cannot check it manually, but if you see that the bug gets closed or downgraded, and after some time you notice they didn't fix the issue, you can always react to it then, as with any other bug. If people trying to circumvent things, that could be dealt with in a different way.
Yeah. Well, the workflow you described of if the bug already exists in the archive, we should file a bug with appropriate severity and accept it. That is the current practice, or that is supposed to be the current practice. But as mentioned earlier, like, we don't have really good tooling for determining that. So it's incumbent on. So now I'm going to have to like download the current source package from app source, then grep to see if the same issue exists. You know, so like that sometimes happens. But yeah.
But are you open to changing? Well, there are certain FTP masters that see this differently. For example, for few, not having things documented in the copyright is a reason to reject. For few, they're open to accepting with a bug. But can this be a general new processing team stance that we, instead of reject, a hard reject, we accept with the RC bug? Is that something the new team or the FTP team agree on? Like, I don't think there's an agreement yet. Some people are open to it. Some people might not be. I'm not sure. But is this something that we can agree on? Is it like a hard thing to achieve, or is this something we can?
I think that definitely like some sort of FTP team sprint is in order, where hopefully we can make a bunch of decisions here.
Yeah.
And I mean, or whatever it is that the new teams are going to be organized. I think definitely. I mean, I think the entire team hasn't commented on the reorganization plan, but I think that would make it perhaps easier to make these sort of decisions.
Look, maybe I should relay a comment from Ansgar on IRC, who says that in principle there was agreement in the FTP time to file more bugs rather than rejecting packages, as that helps with not having to review packages twice and losing communication. But before that he said you can only really file bug reports once DebBugs knows where the bug report should be forwarded to. So I think if it's a new source package, so not a new binary package for an existing source package, there's apparently also a technical issue. That if you try to file the bug immediately, then the package isn't in the archive yet, so DebBugs doesn't know that that the package exists. So I'm not sure what happens there, and I think Ansgar is also not really sure. So maybe it's possible to come up with a flow where that can be done, and then once the package is in the archive, DebBugs knows what to do or something like that.
Yeah, you could have a cron job that looks at the package in BTS and tries to file, and you know, just have a bug queue.
I'm laughing because Ansgar said, and too much in Debian is cron based.
So I think we are at 0 now. Last remark: if you FTP masters want to do a sprint, talk to me. I pay for this. I currently have the power to say do a sprint, and I would even join. And thanks a lot, Luke, for all the work, what you did, and that you were steering the discussion now. I'm really happy about this. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.